Okay, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos. How are you feeling? I mean, the rains came, started the day on a very wet note. I'm not even envious of people who live in flood-prone areas. I trust that you were able to manage the situation earlier today. But I mean, on the plus side, I think that the weather has been a little more favorable in terms of the temperature. Anyway, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. My name is Kola Wally. Of course, on Thursdays like this, we get to begin with The Office, where we get to bring you fantastic professionals in the field of human resource management. And of course, you know that The Office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and Lagos Talks 91.3. This evening on The Office, we have a guest who is becoming a friend of the house. He's been here not once, not twice, but they say lightning doesn't strike three times, but it seems like we're experiencing this for the first time. Is here for the third time, at least under my watch, and it's always a pleasure to have him with us. Our guest this evening on The Office is the Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM. He is someone who presently holds the position of VP at CIPM with, of course, extensive expertise in corporate head PR and HR strategy, policy, and compensation. He has demonstrated his skills through various roles, including his tenure at NLNG Shipping and Marine Services Limited. You've heard him before, but he's here with us again to allow us pick his brains and to join me in welcoming Henry Unuakpor, MCIPM, the VP CIPM Nigeria. Good to have you join us, sir. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me once again. And I think it's good you spoke concerning the weather. It's been pretty hot, and with all the things facing us, I think the Almighty has sent a downpour to calm things down a bit. So
Absolutely.
it's helpful for all
Absolutely.
of
I
us.
think the Almighty saw that we're at the edge of losing our cool,
Mm,
you know.
hmm.
And so the downpour this morning just came as a respite
Yes,
from the
yes,
heat that has been the major contributor to the tension
yeah.
this
And
past
I
few.
just hope that with the rains, also some more respite and blessings will come with it and calm things
Absolutely,
down a bit.
absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
hoping that we get dividend from this rain and downpour in terms of even our productivity as far as agriculture is concerned.
true, true.
All right.
Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have you again this evening. And I mean, we've spoken about a lot of amazing topics uh, as far as HR is concerned. But today, let's talk about leadership, ethical leadership, and the core values as professionals in human resource management. And we have a few questions. Hopefully, we can make use of our time. You're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. If you're just joining, this is The Office. I've got Henry with me, the VP of CIPM, as our guest. So let's begin with the first question. Henry, what do you perceive as the fundamental principle of ethical leadership, and how do they align with the core values of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria?
Thank you very much, and thanks again, listeners. Again, it's always a joy to be on Lagos Talk, which is really a major flagship when it comes to discussing topical issues that help our nation and our profession. So, thanks everyone for having us. And I think just as we speak about the fundamental principles, I first of all want to say I think we've said this over and over again that everything rises and falls on leadership. So it's really leadership at the end of it that determines how just about everything will go on. And I won't spend too much time on that. Basically saying that everything rises and falls on leadership, as it were. But I'll say that The ethical part of it is then the icing on the cake. It's really that rudder, as it were, because I'm in the shipping industry, I use the word rudder. It's really that rudder, as it were, that steers the ship of leadership in the right place, in the right direction, at the right time, and all of that. So that's really around the fundamental principle of it, that everything rises and falls on leadership. However, the icing on that cake, the neck that moves the head of leadership, is really being ethical leadership, and all of that that it represents. When it comes to that, the key fundamentals around this are ensuring at all times integrity. That's a key part of it. Have you doing the right things the right time at all times? Accountability, that's also another core part of it. Transparency, ensuring fairness. Um, the way you will treat this person is the way you will treat the other, irrespective of tribe, religion, gender, and all of that. Ensuring fairness at all times,
Mm.
but also respecting people, um, irrespective of that person's cadre or position in the ladder, as it were. So those are some of the fundamental principles, as it were, around ethical leadership. Integrity, accountability, transparency at all times, fairness to all, and showing respect to everybody. As I did say before, um, all these are fundamental, as it were, ensuring that ethical leadership does take sway, as it were. And when it comes to CIPM, that's why it's important to us. We have as our core, our very, very core, the principles of ethical leadership. And that comes with our core value. Our core value itself, we've found a way to ensure that we can all easily remember.
Mm.
And the acronym for it is script, SCIRPT. And that is what, as it were, just guides all of us in CIPM in terms of our professional. And those are the things around service, creativity, respect, integrity, professionalism, and then teamwork. Script. That is really at the very core of our operations. Those are our core values, and that is how one of the strongest ways we promote ethical leadership, not just for all of us, but all of our members all across the country, because it's something we ring at every time. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Because I'm also, it's interesting to know that CIPM also takes delight in, grooming leaders for the future and even for the present. Because ordinarily, what comes to mind when it comes to CIPM is basically a community of human resource managers. And then you have made us understand how, molding competent leaders are part of the things that are important to the institute. That's an interesting realization at this point in time. So that leads us to my second question, and it's about organizations in general. I mean, the HR department or the HR unit is quite pivotal to the running of an organization, and the upholding of positive culture, organizational culture, and the enhancements of employee engagement and morale. But in your experience, how does ethical leadership contribute to all of this?
So thanks. And I think just as we get into that, two key things to mention. Again, we're speaking as directly as possible for ensuring that we're able to maximize the use of our time today. When you look at all of these things around ethical leadership, part of what is also very important is that leaders will maintain a high moral standard at all times. And that's one of the ways to ensure that. And another is by where leadership, people in leadership ensuring that they prioritize the needs of others around them rather than theirs. Now, we will not get into the political fray, but I think we understand what it means for leaders to prioritize the needs of the people they serve over their own personal needs. And those are some of the hallmarks, as it were, of ethical leadership. Ensuring the betterment of the people first before yours at all times. But in specific response to your question, around ensuring that ethical leadership culture exists as part of positive organizations. Some of the simplest quotes that we put across every day, these are the times where those quotes begin to come to bear, as it were, and matter. Every time we've said that culture does what for breakfast. I'm sure you've heard that before, Kayode. It's a culture will eat strategy for breakfast. So with all of your best of strategy, your tactical dispositions, all of your plans that you want to have in your organization, if you do not have the right culture, then all of those will fall flat. And so that is why it's important that the right culture is maintained in every organization that wants to do well, that wants to thrive. And that is why we speak to ensuring a culture of ethical leadership. And what does that mean? It means it's not a hit and run. It means it's not just a buzzword, something we just quote. It means it's not something that's just written somewhere. It means it's the way of life of the people. That's why it talks about the culture. And that therefore involves a process of acculturation. And acculturation, I mean a very deliberate process of ensuring that this is ingrained in everyone. So that's why I talk through a few things that ensure that ethical leadership becomes a culture of a positive organizational environment. And one of those things to ensure that is trust and transparency. That at all times we can trust the leaders. We can say that when they say something, they mean that thing, and that thing is the truth. And so that's what it really means. That's a first part and a key part to it: trust and transparency, as part of promotion of the ethical leadership culture. The other key part is really clear communication. Segun Moji, the president of CIPM, I mean, something he says quite often, he says you can't blink in the dark and expect someone to see you or to understand what you're saying. So it's all dark and you're blinking and trying to pass a message. The key thing around this is, with all that follows with ethical leadership, is clarity of communication, ensuring that the people know where you are going, they understand the plans, they understand where the organization is going, and it's a two-way communication where the goals and objectives are clearly stated and people live by them. The other key thing around ensuring this culture is empowering the people to deliver. And after empowering them, ensure there's accountability. Many of us have been students of management, and we talk about the principles of parity, of responsibility, and authority. And what do I mean very quickly? If you've given someone the authority to do something, then you must ask that person to be responsible in doing that. So that's what it is. You give the empowerment, you ask for the accountability, and you live by it also.
Okay.
But to bet that point is that you celebrate the wins. And by so doing, I mean where people show acts of proper ethical leadership, celebrate it, talk about it, mention it so that people know this is the right way to behave, and give appreciation for it as much as possible. Those are some of the ways that you begin to deepen the culture of ethical leadership in organizations.
Okay, we want to quickly go on a break right now. In case you're just tuning in, this is Lagos Talks 91.3. By the way, we have an X space happening live concurrently, so you can do well to join us right there. You're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. This is The Office, and we have to go on this break. When we come back, we're going to pick Henry's brain regarding his personal experiences and how all of this has come into play and how he was able to, maneuver through these or those murky waters at the time. So up next, after this break, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks.
CIPM Music Conference is back this year at the Omniverse. We are gathering the brightest minds across African innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship, happening on the 1st of March 2024 by 9 a.m. at Landmark Center, Lagos. It will be a day of amazing panel sessions, a mixer, and a masterclass. Stay tuned for more information.
The drama, the suspense, the emotions, the gang moments. Don't miss out on Nollywood movies and web series on YouTube with the YouTube Buffet plan from MTN. You can enjoy over 10 hours of Nollywood content made for you. Sharply dial *312*800# to activate the YouTube Buffet plan from MTN and start enjoying YouTube made for you. The drama, the suspense, the emotions, the gang moments. Don't miss out on Nollywood movies and web series on YouTube with the YouTube Buffet plan from MTN. You can enjoy over 10 hours of Nollywood content made for you. Sharply dial *312*800# to activate the YouTube Buffet plan from MTN and start enjoying YouTube made for you.
Okay, welcome back. You're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. This is still The Office, and we are enjoying the company of our awesome guests. He is the Vice President of CIPM, Henry Unuakpor, MCIPM, and he's been in this business for Lord knows, so he's talking from a position of authority. So let's quickly talk about your experiences, Henry. At what point did it was it required of you to bring in your expertise and, of course, inculcate the culture in the institute as per our topic this evening? You know, were there ethical dilemmas at some point during your career? How did you navigate through them while staying true to the core of the values of the institute?
Thanks a lot, Kaide. I think that's what we all face every day. I'm sure you're facing some yourself as part of our daily life in our organizations, in our homes, and everywhere. Part of what helps us with CIPM, if I'll dovetail to that a bit, is that we do have, beyond our core values, we have our code of conduct, CIPM code of conduct. And I tell you, at every major event, at every time we have a major event, we actually do read that through as a reminder to everyone that these are our things that bind us when it comes to our ethical behavior. Every time. So just to say that quickly, we all stand up with our hands on our chests, pledging to that. That drives us. But in terms of specifics, I'll tell you this one very, very quickly. So we had a staff who had left the organization earlier in the year. But then sometime later in the year, there was a bonus. The staff had left normally well and all of that. And the question was, is this staff eligible for this payment or not? Though the person is gone. We discussed it and realized that, look, even if it's 2 months he was with us that year, even if he's no longer a payroll, he's gone, the reality is that he did give his own contribution and quota to the company's achievement for that year. He was shocked. He ended up telling the story everywhere. He was shocked when he got paid sometime in December, when he had even left in February of that year, because of what the books say must be done and ensuring integrity. So that's just one of the examples to just share very quickly for the purpose of this program. But the key thing is that he became a very strong ambassador, speaking to the integrity of the ethical leadership that does exist.
Okay.
But the core thing, like I said, is these things are spelled out in script and always espoused in our code of conduct, which we run through at every organization as a pledge to how we must behave at CIPM. And it's the same thing that we also push out there when it comes to our training programs and all the things that we run to do at all times, Kyle.
Okay. All right. So, well, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. Henry's with me. My name is Kola Wole. We have just a few minutes just to wrap things up, but let me talk about the work that CIPM does in instilling ethical leadership qualities amongst, your members across the board. You have all of them scattered around industries and organizations, home and abroad. But how does CIPM achieve this? You know, this instilling of ethical leadership qualities amongst members, how is it done to the broader HR community in Nigeria? Is there like some sort of formula that seems to work?
Absolutely, Kayode, thanks. And those are, first of all, we use the hearts and minds approach. You want to be sure that the people understand the tenets of our core values, that they understand the tenets of our code of conduct. Those are the things that bind us. So it's on account of that that we roll out quite regularly a lot of leadership training and development programs. At those programs, we're always espousing those tenets that make up the, the, the essence of ethical leadership. And that's what we do at all times, pushing them through, encouraging our members to lead by example and to follow through with the clear ethical guidelines that we believe in. So that's one key thing that we do. And so we always bring in everyone into those leadership training and development sessions. But beyond that, also, we encourage quite strongly open dialogue. Just by the fact that we keep everything open and talk about them, it just helps everyone to feel free to speak about those situations. And once you shine light on something, that helps for transparency, that helps for integrity, that helps for fairness. So part of what we do, we ensure that. Now, all across the country today, and even outside Nigeria, we have about 30 branches of CIPM, 28 within the country, 28 states in Nigeria, and 2 branches outside Nigeria, Canada, and the UK. At every of those branches, they have monthly sessions where we talk about and espouse these provisions at all times in those open communication fora. So those are some of the things we do, just by ensuring that everybody is aware of those approaches. And like I said before, having the hearts and minds approach and getting the buy-in. But in addition to that, we do find fora to recognize and reward ethical behavior. We have a number of award programs that come up on an annual basis. And those things actually celebrate situations where people who have, come out strong in demonstrating ethical behavior, those ones are celebrated. And in doing so, we're pointing to everyone to say, this is what we represent, this is how we would like to live, this is what we support. So in doing that, we encourage that also. So 3 things I quickly mentioned: leadership training and development, which we run. We ensure open dialogue at all times. We discuss the things, and then we recognize and reward those ethical behaviors, things we want to celebrate at all times. That's what we do.
All right. And lastly, this evening, it's 2024 now, and the way we work has evolved over time, even more significantly between the COVID year and the now. So considering all of that's happening, the dynamics ongoing right now, the nature of contemporary workplaces are changing. How can ethical leadership evolve to, perhaps at the same pace to address emerging challenges that sprout or that ensue during this process? And how can they also uphold the core values?
Yeah, Kolawole, thanks again. And I know our time is fast spent, so I'll say this part very, very quickly by just delving straight into it. You were right in saying that our world has evolved quite strongly, and there's a lot of dynamism out there today. And one of the things that even brought a more abrupt and lasting change is COVID. It opened our eyes to a lot of things, and I won't dwell too much around that. So how do we understand our world today and the dynamic nature of it, begin to ensure that ethical leadership is a core part of it? One of them is by really embracing diversity and inclusion. We know today that it's beyond D&I, it's also DEIB today. So it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness. And what do I mean? Understanding that in the workplace, you have different kinds of people and their preferences, and just meeting everyone at their point and at their place as much as possible. That is very, very important. Because years back, it wasn't so much like this, and I'll tell you quite strongly so. So recognizing D and I, B in the workplace, and ensuring that we live by those tenets, recognizing all of that. The other very, very, very strongly is technology plays a key role in what happens today. So ensuring that data privacy, for instance, we've seen situations where a lot can happen with people's data, personal data, for instance, and a lot is pushed out there today in the workplace, exactly. So, and I understand all of that in terms of the context. So in looking at ethical leadership and our dynamic world today, we're ensuring that we're recognizing diversity and inclusion and the value of it. What role does technology play? For instance, data privacy is a key part of that. Remote work as a key aspect to this. Are you treating everybody fairly in this? And are people also treating the organizations fairly? Because that's also important as we probably end with that. Many times we think of whether organization is treating people fairly, but are people also treating the organizations fairly in giving their time that they should? Those are aspects of ethical leadership that we tend to espouse and promote. And in our dynamic world today, those have become even far more important to drive.
All right. Henry Unuakpor, MCIPM, and Vice President of CIPM. Thank you once again for being our guest this evening. And it's always a pleasure to speak on these important issues. We look forward to having you in the nearest future.
Kola, well, I can't thank you enough, but thanks also listeners. It's always great being here with you.
All right, so that's the much we can take this evening on today's episode of The Office. It's been definitely a pleasure speaking with our guest this evening. Of course, you should know that CIPM is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria and Lagos Talks 91.3. And this happens on Thursdays, same time from 4:30 up until 5. Up next is Critical Thinking on 91.3. You're listening to Lagos Talks. My name is Kola Wole Falodun.
And laughs. It's Live Drive. At the heart of every news story lies the angles, the perspectives, and the different voices that make the headlines.
Transporters have added money. You don't kind of blame them. We as Nigerians think history doesn't matter. Have the elections, and then if the ministry now says no, we don't agree, that's interference. Okay.
At Lagos Talks 91.3, we go between
Space is going on.
tell the stories.
Okay.
It's time for updates in Nigeria.
I think the place is open. You want to go there?
Yeah, no, not that. There are some guests downstairs.
Yes, they can come.
Okay.
Go to an area where it was possible for people to study local problems, and showcase them, tell people about them.